that is a big camera. We'll just say that. But what is up, guys? What do I even say here? It was a rough Monday, or I'm sorry, Sunday night. Monday, just it's been rough with that fourth quarter collapse by the Ravens. 15 points in 4 minutes, something like that. Of course, the story has been very much the center today and yesterday. John Harbaugh. You've seen a lot of Ravens content creators talking about it. You've seen a lot of NFL media analysts talking about it. If you're a Raven fan and on any type of media, essentially, you've probably seen about it. I feel like I had to come on here and talk about it a little bit because we have been talking about Harbaugh for 10 to 12 years at this point, essentially. Right after the Super Bowl, we had critiques. And I want to start actually with a disclaimer. First of all, I've stood by this and I'll still stand by it. John Harbaugh does have very good leadership traits. If you've ever been here on the channel, my famous saying is, I will never take this away from Harbaugh, but he is a good leader of men. I think he has a certain type of mindset, and we'll talk about this. There's a difference between a good manager and a good leader. I think Harbaugh is a great manager in a sense. I think, and when I say that, I feel like you could take him into almost any corporate setting across America, almost any job in a certain sense where you just need to foster good leadership, find someone who's going to, make sure the rules get followed and stuff. And again, but I've always said he's a great leader of men, but I don't know if he's a great football coach. So second disclaimer right after that. Who the hell am I? What do I know about football? I don't work for the Ravens. I probably will absolutely never work for the Ravens, as deep down that hurts, but it's the true reality of the world that we live in. I'm not educated enough for them. I don't have the background that they won't. It doesn't matter how many draft hits I have. It doesn't matter what stats I find. Doesn't matter what trends I find in the data. Doesn't matter. So who am I, at the end of the day? But I have been vocal about some of the issues with John Harbaugh going back all the way to 2013 when we opened against Denver and Peyton Manning in Denver because, the whole parking ordeal with the Baltimore Orioles after we won the Super Bowl and the shared parking, yada, yada. So we became the first team ever to open away at home. And what I find hilarious and why I really just want to talk about it is the same rhetoric we are hearing from the media analysts, NFL, Baltimore, everywhere, is the same story I've been saying since that loss. And it is that John Harbaugh will say all these things correct. And I'm going to quote John Harbaugh, about going into, because I watch these press conferences. I sit there and I study their body language, everything they're saying, small background on me, background in profiling, background in psychology, background in football. Now, of course, I am no NFL talent. I am no NFL coach. I am no CEO of no company, but I've been promoted in every workplace I've ever been. I became the youngest manager in the Delta system, handling 60 gates a day in Minneapolis is when I won that job. I do know a little bit about leadership and management and very high level of it. But he spoke about that Denver game, about how we're going in there, we're prepared for Peyton Manning, we're doing this and that. We've planned so much into making sure we win this opening game and start the season hot. And then I don't know if anyone here remembers that game, but legitimately, we got blown the fuck out. Excuse my language. I try not to cuss too much, but we got blown out. the Ravens and John Harbaugh made a decision that I didn't agree with about taking extra defensive linemen for run stopping into the game, and ended up having so few DBs on the 53 active game day roster that day that when we had one injury in the first half of that football game, we had no subs. So linebackers were having to play a ton of zone, and Peyton Manning ate us alive. And I criticized him on that decision. I said, man, again, I'm not a coach. I don't know football, but I would have never gone into that game against Peyton Manning and what he's historically done. And again, they were talking about that running game. I had no faith in that running game. It wasn't that great. And again, Peyton Manning ate us alive for like 400 yards, if I'm not mistaken. Absolutely blowing us out. And I want to make it clear. A lot of people are critiquing John Harbaugh right now for his decision on the fourth down. Nothing I am talking about today will have anything to do with that decision, because that's whatever. John Harbaugh listens to his stat guys. If they said that, that's what he's going to follow. And to a certain degree, I can understand him, but I also do buy into that. But again, we're not going to talk about that. I guess I got to start with the what is it, like 17 double digits second half losses, most by a coach since 1991. And we're going to hint on why the Ravens lack that certain type of mentality. And if you've ever followed my channel, I talk about it all the time. If I'm an offensive coordinator, there's a certain level of mentality that I want in my offensive lineman. What up, Azo? Azo says, okay, hold on. But, and I talk about this a lot. I say, if I was a coach, I would almost tell the other team I'm running the ball in the first play of every drive, because no matter what, in the game of football, in a game of inches, you are going to end up in a situation where you need a short amount of yards and they 90% know what you're going to do. That's football, and it always ends up being the most critical situation. And in those moments, your guys have to have a level of grit in their heart and soul. And we're going to talk about a lot about Daniel Falele on this stream too. Oh my God. Azo said, before you get started, by the way, Azo, if you care to join, I could send you the StreamYard link and you could get in here as well if you want to come in and chat a good bit. Let me know, Azo. I'll say, what's going on before I get started? I guess I should hold up. What am I missing? Is there something wrong with the stream? Oh, gosh. I'm heated, man. I've been thinking about this all day. I couldn't sit still about it. Hey, so I need something from you for you. Let me see. Just send me anything on Discord. Dude. Oh, of course, the food truck. Of course, the food truck just got here, and my girlfriend wants a Philly cheesesteak. Oh my God, what's up, Azo? I might have to kill the stream and start it again. Now, yeah, you actually reminded me, Azo. There is one more thing. I guess I'll try to just rush through this quick and then get to the food truck. There is no solution right now for John Harbaugh. I want to make that clear. There is no firing John Harbaugh right now. Absolutely not. Even though as much as I'm going to harp on John Harbaugh right now, there is no firing him right now. There is no moving on from him at any point during this season. It just would not be. And again, there's not last offseason hiring cycle. There might have been a guy I would have liked. 2 cycles before that, there were several people that I liked, including I did a whole video on guys that I would have hired, Azo. So I want to make sure that's clear as well. I have actually talked about this because if you know my channel and you know me, I will never talk about a problem unless I think there is a solution to the problem. And yeah, like Azo was saying, I wouldn't trade him. I'm not firing him right now. It is not the time for that. They're like firing him and moving Monken to a head coach would change really nothing in this locker room. And I do not believe currently on the coaching staff, there is a guy that I would want to kind of step into that role, because I've been very vocal about it. The next head coach I want personally is a younger, very offensive minded coach. I want a very stable system in Baltimore that if offensive coordinator leaves Lamar Jackson, there is no real drop off. if you get what I'm saying. That's what I want personally. Now, Azo, I'm going to talk about the playoffs and all that. That's cool. We're going to get there. So, if we're going to talk about the playoffs, how about when the Chargers told us after the game that we weren't self-scouting correctly and that we were tipping the plays off absolutely 100% pass or run before the snap. And that's why they, even though we crushed them right before the playoffs, they came in the playoffs and absolutely murked us. That's on that. Now, I want to talk about the bad offensive coordinator hires. And I've said this, Azo, here's a short quip to kind of in case that it's great to look like a great coach, easy to look like a great coach when you have Hall of Fame GM with a successor who I think is a damn good GM, no matter what anybody says in Baltimore right now. I'm still behind Eric DeCosta 1,000,000%. And Hall of Fame players. Now, we could say the guys before him, like Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Terrell Suggs, all those guys, Haloti Ngata. But also you could throw Lamar Jackson in there. And if you've watched any of the podcast, if you've watched anything that they talk about that draft, EDC and Ozzie didn't tell anybody. Not Steve Biscotti, not Harbaugh. They told nobody they were going and getting Lamar Jackson. So you can't put Lamar Jackson on Harbaugh as well. But so we're going to get to and again, so it's great, easy to look like a great coach when you have Hall of Fame GMs, talents, and great ownership. But so let's talk about the coordinators. So I want to make this clear. I like Todd Monken. I think Todd Monken was a great hire. But we also have to, again, talk about these podcasts where the GM and the owners have came on and talked about this. This offensive coordinator hire of Todd Monken a couple years ago was the most EDC and Ozzie had ever been involved in the search for an offensive coordinator. It is genuinely left to John Harbaugh. So we kind of have to take Monken out of that hire list. And if we take him out, which we're going to cover later because I have all this written down, doesn't look great. Mike McDonald over in Seattle. A lot of people liked him. A lot of people wanted him head coach in waiting. I kind of did, even though he was a defensive coordinator. Mixed results there in Seattle. But again, people loved him. But guess what? Do you know why he left? Because originally he was had interviewed for that job, and they gave the job to Don Wink Martindale, who, of course, is not doing well right now. He ended up to the Giants, blew up their locker room. They kicked him out because he's a cancer to the locker room, which, again, if you're promoting these people originally. So when Wink got promoted, Mike left to go to Michigan, where he went and put up their record defenses. He came back, yes, because he wanted his shot in the NFL. But that's also why he left right away, because they chose someone else over him. So again, let's slide Mike McDonald and Todd Monken out of those hires, because again, the previous stats are meant things. Yes and no, but Belichick ran his own system. So I talked about it, the Denver loss in 2013. Since we're talking about it, I want to talk about the coaches because I have so many points to talk about here. Jim Caldwell. Nope. Mark Tresman. Cam Cameron. Greg Roman. Marty Morningwig. Hugh Jackson. Not Hugh Jackson. What's his name? Hugh. I forgot. Dean Pease. Don Wink Martindale. Greg Madison. None of those were great hires. And yes, we may have gotten a Super Bowl ring out of one, but there's a lot of other variables in that one Super Bowl year. And of course, I talk about this a lot. When you are a manager or a leader, one of the defining things of your leadership and management is, can you promote others into leadership and management? Like let me give you an example. If you are a general manager somewhere and you are trying to become a regional manager, what they want to see is that you successfully raised several other GMs up to a level in the area. Like, you need to be able to raise other people up. Anyone know where Mark Tresman's at? CFL. Jim Caldwell, he's an assistant on Carolina. Cam Cameron, quarterback coach at LSU. Of course, Greg Roman's an offensive coordinator at the LA Chargers, but we'll see how long that lasts. Hugh Jackman, whatever his name, Jackson's offensive coordinator at Georgia. Marty Morningwig's consultant for Philadelphia. Dean Pease is, of course, back on the staff, part of a lot of the people they brought back. Don Wink Martindale at Michigan, and Greg Madison retired. Not a single person went on to really even have any level of success, and often it almost ended their career, at least in the NFL. You got a couple guys that are hanging on there, but it's probably more by their name and their old numbers. Harbaugh has continually chosen to, with what I talked about, those roster decisions, to prioritize veterans over promoting younger players and developing them. And we've constantly seen some of these guys just either in Harbaugh's doghouse or they go off to other teams. You know, Zach Seiler had double-digit sacks at one point in Miami. Raheem Mostert was on the practice squad. Gus Edwards still holds the record for most amount of rushes without losing a yard. And I loved Mark Ingram, but I truly thought Gus deserved the starting job. And you see a lot of players kind of take shots at the Ravens once they leave. And I think, again, that's part of Harbaugh's culture that he's developed there. Now, don't be wrong. I never truly know what's going on in the building. You know, I'm not a Raven insider. But from the outside, there's also other people who have the same opinion as me that are going, why? Why are we doing this? You know, a lot of people are critiquing the decision to not have Keith Mitchell on the active roster, which they explained the special teams value. It just, his words don't match what he does. And that's what the NFL media is talking about. That's what some of the Baltimore media is talking about now. And I was so livid. You can go back and find my tweets after, 2 years ago in the Chiefs loss? Livid. Because after the game, he denied all accountability. He denied that they had any game management issues, clock issues, anything like that. And then a week later, backtracked on it all. And including in that backtrack, tried to hire the former special teams coach, Jerry Rosenberg, who was also served as the interim head coach for Denver before the Sean Payton hire. And he was being brought back for what specifically? Game management. And the fact that John Harbaugh went up there in that press conference after the Chiefs, denied all accountability for that type of situation and behavior, lied through his teeth about it. And don't get me wrong, I was happy later he took some accountability for it. But the NFL media is not watching that second press conference at the Baltimore end of the year State of Ravens press conference. National media is not watching that. And again, the problem that I always had is that too much of the attention has been on Lamar. People come in and shit on Lamar. Lamar is not the problem. Lamar has never been the problem. I love fucking Lamar. Lamar is continuing to grow and is, again, probably guaranteed for the Hall of Fame at this point. And I think he's going to continue to have even more years. But finally, a game went super wrong, like it has 17 other times in John Harbaugh's career in the fourth quarter. And of course, Lamar played basically a perfect game. So nobody could blame Lamar for this one. And that's why we're finally talking about John Harbaugh. This has been a problem. And again, no. So again, even the national media saying, you know, the problem is he says what he's supposed to say, but then he never backs it up. And again, nobody told him about, and this whole thing with Daniel Falele, where they will not move on from Daniel Falele. They won't let you critique Daniel Falele. And I said in the offseason, as much as it pains me, Daniel Falele's play, I feel like will get Lamar hurt. And of course, on the very flows, at first fucking drive, second drive, Falele got pushed back into Lamar. Lamar's hand hit the helmet of the other dude, ended up with a cut on his throwing hand, thumb, to be specific, if I'm not mistaken. I hope that's the completion of my prophecy and nothing else happens. God forbid, knock on wood. But The doghouse thing. They refuse to move on from him. And nothing about his play has ever. And like I actually called out there in a video. There was a guy who writes for BaltimoreRavens.com. He was doing a review talking about the inconsistency in the O-line. And I had to stop the video and make a comment because he was like, oh, yeah, good for Falele here on this run play to the right. You know, he really got the guy over. And I was like, wait, didn't that guy, he looks like he fell weird. I rolled it back one time. He got tripped up on Rosengarten's foot. And I was like, he fell. And then he almost got in the way of Derrick Henry's giant run. Like, I wanted him to work, man. Y'all know I am super biased towards young and developmental players. I have never been shy about that. So I loved Falele. But there has to be a certain point where reality and expectations come together. And again, who am I? But it's very redeeming to finally see, again, people saying exactly what I've been talking about for years. Another thing, Harbaugh talked about a lot. Todd Monken talked about a lot. They even were talking about how they were angry about this in the preseason. Well, you know, why can't we get the pre-snap penalties down right? Why can't we get other teams offside? Why are we, when we constantly doing it, jumping offside? They literally said they were trying to put an emphasis on gaining pre-snap penalties. Did y'all see really any hard attempts at that this game? And no, because why? Because we would jump off sides and start badly. Again, when a team has, and again, the Ravens have had penalty problems for how many years now? And we talked about this last year. Where does that come into? If it's a continued problem over years, despite players changing, free agents leaving, drafting guys, oh shit, it's got to be coaching. Any logical person would put that together at some point. And we're literally saying, hey, shit, guys, we can't try to be that team that gets, you know, that free play like all the great Hall of Fame quarterbacks and offenses have done over the years because, well, shit, our guys just can't get it done. Sorry. What? Are you serious on this? Like, and y'all, for anyone that's been on my channel for years, that's watched me when I do these gameplays, one of the things that I've stressed, and I scream at Daniel Falele every damn game. I wish I could have AI go through my channel to count it. How many times have you heard me on game day say, hit someone, put your hands on someone? And if you go to my Twitter, you'll find a great clip of Mark Andrews with his hands on his hips, again, watching Zay Flowers get tackled and not blocking for his man. He throws one block and then just gives up on the play. What up, Papa J? What up, David McNiner? I'm sorry, I'm just going crazy on this right now. Like, I want to show the clips, but I don't want to get in trouble and flagged on this. Like, go to my Twitter, Darwin's Raven 20 on Twitter. I've been going ham on this shit for the past few days. Daniel Falele got spun cycle like a Samsung washing machine without anyone touching him or touching anybody. He got credit for a great run block where someone else tripped. Like, it's incredibly frustrating to watch. He got Lamar sacked, 2 pressures and a hurry, I think, total on the night. And again, I expect a certain level of physicality in the run game, and he just doesn't show it. And when we joked about them hiring Jerry Rosenberg to come back and be the assistant head coach, which again, the deal fell through because I think he wanted a clause to be the next head coach and waiting behind Harbaugh, and they wouldn't give it to him. But when they were bringing him back to do game day situations and all the clock management and statistical, my joke was, what the fuck does John Harbaugh do on game day then? He's not involved in the offense then. He's not involved in the defense. And you can't tell me he's involved in the offense because Again, going back to that Chiefs game, I still have PTSD, and I joke about it. It's not Lamar's fault that we only rushed the ball 6 times against a run defense that was ranked around 20th in the fucking league. And the last run by Gus fucking Edwards was a 20-yard run. That was the last time he touched the ball for the rest of the game. That's not Lamar's fault. That can be the offensive coordinator's fault. But you know who I put the blame on is the one guy who's listening into everything and says, hey, it's my job to kind of like really analyze the flow of the game and maybe be in the ear of the offensive coordinator. Hey, man, I really think we should run the ball right now. And if he doesn't, do something about it. Because I have certain people in the Army that I grew up with in a certain sense. Army's definition of leadership is you are responsible for everything your team does and fails to do. So, yes, I hold him accountable for our offense only rushing 6 times. Yes, I hold him accountable for the horrible game clock management. Yes, I hold him accountable for his 53-day active game day rosters that he chooses. That is no fault of the GMs. And at the end of the day, Ravens have a tie football game if Luton hits the PAT. And even he said he rushed it. Isn't John Harbaugh a former special teams coach? Isn't that so? And under John Harbaugh, since Jerry Rosenberg left the Ravens, haven't the Ravens had one of the worst special teams in the NFL or most rapidly declining special teams in the NFL? It's like we lost the special teams coach that they tried to hire back. And our special teams literally went to garbage. We had penalties tonight on. They talked about Tyler Luke looked clueless on that kickoff rule. If he's not doing the offense or the defense. And again, I love Zach Orr. He's a player's coach. But it was very obvious with bringing back Dean Pease and some of the other guys. They brought back somewhere between, 6 to 9 former coaches, a lot of them on the defensive side of the football. And of course, what happened on Sunday Night Football? The same type of defense that Dean Pease ran out of Baltimore. Now, don't get me wrong, we won a Baltimore Super Bowl under Dean Pease, but barely. Michael Crabtree almost had the fucking tying or game-winning touchdown. It was a game of inches where Hall of Fame players made plays. And Daniel Ellerbe bailed out Ray Lewis technically in that game as well. I love Ray Lewis. But that's the objective reality of what happened in that game. And Dean Pease got ran out of Baltimore after that for that bend don't break offense that started this trend of giving up leads. And of course, they brought back Dean Pease. He's been a very big part of the defense this year. And then we go out there and we do what got Dean Pease ran out of Baltimore originally, not being aggressive on defense, playing just bad defense. Kyle Hamilton, some of them dudes played their hearts out. Chidobe Awuzie had a great start to his Raven career. I'm very excited about him. Obviously, Jair was not ready for the game. I don't blame Jair for that. Jair was dealing with a knee issue. He just got to the team. Maybe they should have put somebody else out there. But he did get beat. Just, again, that's all the coaching. But again, Azo talked about this at the beginning of the stream. There is no option right now. There is no firing John Harbaugh. There is no moving on from John Harbaugh. In the end, the Ravens do need to move on and try to fix the season and win. And of course, this is the most talented Ravens team I think I have ever seen since I was fucking born, which the Ravens weren't even a thing then. So, yes, I think we have been bottlenecked by Harbaugh. I think he is bottlenecked coaching. I think he is bottlenecked player development of some of the younger players. And again, I think EDC is a Hall of Fame level GM. And of course, we know Ozzie Newsome is a Hall of Fame GM. And we know Steve Biscotti is a great owner that is always willing to give more time. There was always the talk, in 2018, that Lamar Jackson saved John Harbaugh's career. And I would argue he's continued to save his career. No one on this planet, 49er fans are usually in my chat. They'll tell you all about Greg Roman. Cam Cameron ran nothing but curls. I think we actually won the Super Bowl under him. But God, did Jacoby Jones, RIP Jacoby, have to pull off a miracle or two? Same thing with Torrey Smith. Like, it took almost miracle level plays for us to win that Super Bowl. Like, it was never a clean, great win. It was exciting. That was some of the best years of football of my life, to be honest. Going out with my friends to the bar and watching that playoff run was something magical that I hold in my heart for the rest of my life. But that doesn't change the objective reality of what I watched. It doesn't change my cold love for numbers, and it's just so frustrating. And like I said, there's never been a guy that really went off and succeeded. I think the best one right now is Denard Wilson. The former DB coach is the defensive coordinator for Tennessee Titans, which they're very excited about him over there. I think he's in his second year now. Anthony Weaver went to Miami, and that's not looking so well right now. But it's a long season, so hopefully Miami fans will get over that. The problem is, and Azo, like I said, what I truly want is a younger offensive coordinator to take the reins. Like I said, there's a lack of physicality, especially in the Ravens offense. Azo, and you know what, Azo, later I'm going to send you on Discord the clip I'm talking about. And like I said in my thing, I've watched Mark Andrews for years give up on plays, especially blocking, where he's not the focus of the play. But the ball is literally right beside him, and he's just standing there with his hands on his hips. And it drives me nuts. And to me, that's a culture thing. That's the coach not getting on veterans to the end of the whistle. We saw Mike Vrabel of the Patriots get on Joe Milton, their star defensive tackle free agent signing, because he wasn't running through on plays and stuff like that. I absolutely fucking hate seeing that from an NFL player. Hands on the hips as a player's getting tackled right beside you. Not helping the player up either. I want to add that to the list. Not helping him up, like, as he's right there. I don't see, Azo, I truly don't believe if the Ravens moved on from John Harbaugh, I don't think that really affects our Super Bowl chances. Because John Harbaugh, it's not his offensive system. He's not an offensive coordinator. It's not his defensive system. No. If it's his special teams, it's performing poorly since Jerry Rosenberg left. So again, what other than following the rules, suspending people, and putting people in the doghouse, as we all know, everyone in Baltimore knows about Harbaugh's doghouse. Other than that, and making bad roster decisions of guys, younger talent guys that had more potential, yeah, he has almost no effect on the team. You could almost put a fan in there to call timeouts and they'd call him out better. Azo, you've been there for my live streams. Last year and the year before, we were so vocal about how bad John Harbaugh's clock management was. And again, it cost us playoff wins, and it ended up they had to try to hire someone to come back and do the job for Harbaugh. And again, oh my God, when we ran off the field, I was watching the game. I called the game. There was very clearly out of bounds, 1 second left. The fact that, now again, I've said Lamar Jackson and the offense running into the locker room, I have no problem with because they were never going to be back on the field. But John Harbaugh, when they cut to him, he was in the end zone. I have every problem with John Harbaugh entitledly. And the look on his face when they made him come back, the entitlement of that coach. And how many times, Baltimore, hold on, Baltimore, hold on, was absolutely ridiculous. And again, that is, if there was ever the moment to encapsulate everything I think is the culture and part of the problem, was literally shown right there on the field. Baltimore gave up. Baltimore ran off. Baltimore assumed. Baltimore was so entitled. And again, mostly John Harbaugh on the defense and special teams. But he's accountable. And again, the moment I saw his face in the end zone and that look of bewilderment, like he was upset with the officials, like he couldn't understand what was going on, And again, who the fuck am I? But I absolutely do not stand for that in leadership. And I will admit, part of my issue is I have high standards of leadership. I know this. I've talked about this with very high level people. I have a very high bar for leadership. And once you sign a contract, to fulfill that contract. And again, it's just I just finally the NFL's talking about it. Finally, Baltimore media. Because here's the problem, and I've talked about this last year. It's hard to talk about issues when you're winning. And of course, yes, because of Lamar Jackson. And no one will, I don't think anyone will argue this. Sometimes we win because Lamar Jackson just makes plays, which is everything you want in a franchise quarterback, whether he makes it on the ground or through the air. But again, he's kind of been Superman and won us a couple games where no other quarterback in the NFL could do that. I would like to see him in less situations like that. I think that's part of the issue. I think his ability to just win games and make stuff happen covers up some of the issues that have been slowly festering in this Ravens locker room and team over the past few years. No one wants to talk about the things that went wrong when you win the game. It's literally as simple as that. And even some of the games we won last year by very thin margins, where we almost gave up, these comebacks, but we won in the end. Nobody talked about us almost blowing that lead because we ended up winning. And that's part of my problem, because to a certain degree, I'm not a perfectionist, but to a certain degree, I do like perfection. My old kickboxing instructor, who was part of the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu competition team, let me give you a famous quote from him. Perfection has a mother and a father. They are practice and preparation. And the more practice and preparation you put in, the closer you get to perfection. It's as simple as that. So even when you win, you should still be looking. And part of that problem showed up again in that very first playoffs loss with Lamar against the Chargers. We were winning so much and we stopped caring that we didn't even self-scout ourselves, and we literally were giving away plays. That's not okay in the NFL. This isn't college. This isn't high school. This is the NFL. And I'm sorry that I hold that guy to a higher standard than I hold some college coach at a small college somewhere. And I know it is a very privileged argument to have. Everyone's like, how could you complain about it? Look at your record over the years. Yeah, again, look at the talent the Hall of Fame GM brought in over the years. That again, and they're very clear about this. They have their very separate distinctions in what they do. And the head coach is not really part of the scouting staff. He's there. He might weigh in. But again, we know from EDC and Ozzie that he had nothing to do with Lamar. He didn't know they were drafting Lamar. Maybe there's a reason why they didn't tell him. But of course, we're not going to talk about that while he's the head coach. Don't you find that odd that the Hall of Fame GM and this other GM didn't tell the owner or the head coach that they were drafting that guy, that they were going up into the first round to get him too? Don't you think that's odd? But again, I'm not a Ravens insider. I'm not in that building. I don't know anything, right? So take every word I say with a grain of salt, and that it is purely an opinion. But I try to make my opinions from what's the word I'm looking for? Not reproducible, but verifiable sources, facts, figures. And if y'all know me, I take the emotion almost out of everything to make a decision. I am not, I talk about it all the time where my team's bad, where other team, I take emotion out of a lot of decisions in life, and I treat football the same. It's why if you go back in my streams, there's people who say, I love that you tell it as it is. You don't talk shit about other teams. You talk up what they're good at, and I call it as I see it. I've had Texans fans tell me, I've had Colts fans tell me, I've had Rams fans tell me. I give it objectively. I watch what I see. I look at the numbers. I try to best I can, because I talk about this a lot in leadership. You truly never know what a leader or manager is going through unless you've truly been in that seat. And of course, I've never been in an NFL head coaching seat. I've never been a head coach of any damn football team. So, there's only a certain degree I can imagine, empathize with, or, but again, I'll never truly know. But from what I can empathize on their position, what I do expect from them, what I see from other coaches in the NFL, I can then make a very well-rounded formed opinion on it. And the numbers don't lie on it. They just, people ignore them because we've won a lot of games. That's the problem. And nobody cares about Baltimore because we're a small market team until it's playoff time. And then the problem is Lamar Jackson gets shit on instead of the coaching staff. Again, when I talk, I've had so many haters try to come in and talk shit about Lamar and his playoffs, and I have to defend him every time. And I will defend him till the day I fucking die, or until he actually proves me wrong and is a problem. But it's not Lamar. It's never been Lamar. And everyone Lamar, had to do Superman. Sometimes he felt like he had to be Superman out there, and he's got to play his game. Verbatim words of NFL analysts in the playoff game against the Chiefs. Verbatim words, mind you. Now, again, let's talk about the underlying causes. Why does he feel like that? Oh, because the offensive coaching staff, like Greg Roman, as Steve Smith Sr. said famously on NFL as well, mind you, that the route concepts that Greg Roman's offense was running were less complicated than some high school systems in the United States. That's not Lamar's fault. And Lamar constantly bailed their asses out. But again, nobody talks about it because we're not a big market team. So until we're in the limelight of verbatim a playoff game, nobody talks about it. But then half the closeted racists out there, of course, target Lamar instead of John Harbaugh. And I've always thought it to be unfair, unjust, and just, again, a absolute blanking excuse for leadership and management. Let me give you an example. It's very clear. Oh, hold on. We got Sponge coming in here. I got to get ready to wrap up because I got to go to a food truck. But welcome in, Sponge. How you doing, man? Oh yeah, I agree, Aza. I know you agree, man. I agree that you're just doing the devil's advocate because it kind of does need to, be there. You there?
Hello.
What up, Sponge? How you doing?
Good.
Oh, how do you feel about everything?
Well, I'm a little bit confused. I was a little bit confused last night about the whole
Tank Bigsby
Tank
trade.
Bigsby trade.
I know. What is going on with that?
So he has broken ribs, I think they said, or bruised.
Oh, either way, it's still rough.
But they had said it had nothing to do with Shipley and his injury. They said it had everything to do with they like Tank Bigsby as a returner.
I didn't even know he did return duties, to be honest. By the way, I wanted to show this, even though I probably might get demonetized for it. It's a very short 13-second clip that I'm going to stop several times. But so this is a little design play. It's going to be going to Zay Flowers here. Here's Mark Andrews out on the. Now he's going to throw one initial block that's really good. But tell me if you'd be upset about this level of effort. So again, here he is. He's going to throw one good pop block here. I'm sorry. There he is. A little bit off. He's on the outside. So here he is. He's got one guy. Good block, though, right? Doesn't block this guy. Literally just lets him by. He literally let 58 run by him. Barely put a hand on him. And again, look at this great upfield blocking here by Kolar and whoever else is there. Voorhees and Stanley, they're getting upfield. Here's Mark Andrews behind the line of scrimmage still, not touching anybody. And then he backs away and basically hands on the hips, just standing there. I am furious. And like I've said, I've seen this year after year from him. When he's not the target of the play, this is the level of effort you get sometimes. And it drives me nuts. It drives me absolutely nuts. And you like, can you defend like Azo, did you see that? Like, sorry, Sponge, how do you feel? I'm heated.
Well, we have the whole Bigsby thing, so that connects to something else. So supposedly we worked out a lot of guys a couple days, like yesterday. Quez Watkins, Mike Hilton, Isaiah Foskey, just to name a few.
Oh, you brought him. Wait, Foskey's there? The former second round pick of the Saints?
Guys we worked out. Like,
oh, I didn't know the Saints. Man, they wasted a second round pick.
Foskey, Jamin Davis as well.
They overdrafted Foskey. Foskey was probably a fourth round pick. They took him in the second.
Yeah,
that was wild.
Yeah. I want a list of the guys we worked out. But we worked out Mike Hilton. So Mike Hilton is a strictly outside corner. So and that's what Coop is playing right now. So that gave me the thought. They already want to move Coop out of the returner. They want to take less work from him, and they want to put Mike. They were looking at outside corners or slot corners or whatever Coop is in Mike Hilton. So could Coop be moving back as CB2? That was
By the way, this is one of the clips of Daniel Falele that I was joking about where he got spun like a Samsung washing machine with almost no contact. So Daniel Falele, starting right guard. Anyone that's watched Corey Davis 49er Wednesday knows I have been worried about this all offseason. And here he is.
Hold on.
So, nobody on contact. His guy backs out of his gap. Linderbaum's going to pass his guy to him as Linderbaum comes back left. So here's his guy. Comes back, getting a little thrown around, gets pushed into. Now he's looking back at Lamar, not blocking anybody right here. Watching Lamar. Cool. Surely he'll block somebody, right? Oh, shit, that guy ran by me. Maybe I should do something. Oh, I got spun around. Let me watch from here as all these guys chase Lamar. Oh, but wait, it gets worse. Lamar's going to make magic happen. He comes upfield. Here comes Ronnie Stanley and Rosengarten. Surely there'll be a play. Maybe he'll just, put the hip out there, not really hit this guy, but slow him down, right? Oh, we missed that one. Oh, shit, get that arm down so we don't get the holding call. All right, surely we'll get this next guy. Oh, shit, I missed him too. Oh, man, I didn't do anything on the play. I literally contributed nothing on a pass rep block. Literally nothing.
Okay, so I have the names here. So we worked out linebacker Jamin Davis, who I wouldn't mind as like LB3. Edge Isaiah Foskey. Offensive guard Darius Henderson. Henderson has experience at both left tackle and left guard. He played for the national champions Michigan in 2023. That's all they got on him. Cornerback Mike Hilton. Now this was a shocker.
We're not nasty anymore. That's the problem. And you've heard me scream about it. Put your hands on someone. Hit somebody. Like in that play of Daniel Falele right there, that is the perfect example of, again, get somebody, man. Put your hands on someone. At least slow somebody down. Like, just nothing. And in the run game, he has no aggressiveness to his finish. I miss Marshall Yanda so bad. Sorry, Sponge.
This was the shocker. We worked out KJ Osborne.
Interesting. By the way, watch this one. Oh, hold on. I got to Google. What's his name? Oliver for the Bills. What's his last name? Ed Oliver. What is Ed Oliver? Ed Oliver? Okay. This is a fun one. So this is Ed Oliver, lineman for the Bills. He's 287 pounds. He's going to be matched up against the 380 to 360 pound Daniel Falele and a pass rush block. And mind you, Oliver literally destroyed Daniel Falele all night long. This is just one rep. So here we go, right off rip. He's coming across the center towards Falele. We got a little bit of a jam here. They're going to do a twist. So he's going to push in. But again, this is 287 pounds. Super high. Like, look at the leverage. How high he is standing up. No leverage. He lost hands immediately. Bull rushed. About to be put on his ass by 287 pounds. Just bull rushed all the way back into fucking Lamar. And then watch. He even loses on this fucking rip. Oh, that's textbook. And it wasn't even a strong or violent rip. It was just a, I looked like a high school player learning to do a rip move. And he's in Lamar's face. And Lamar, this is actually right here. As you can see, Lamar's trying to stiff arm him to buy time. This is where Lamar cut his hand on that very play. Because our 380-pound guard lost to a 287-pound D lineman on a bull rush. And again, please give me Kevin Zeitler, Marshall Yanda, or I'll just about try anybody at this point. Because that's not acceptable in Ravens football. And of course, he did get sacked on that play. I'm done. And of course, what staff protects this player? And I almost got Sponge. I don't know if you noticed. I almost got banned out of the Baltimore Ravens official YouTube because I said I might be worried about Daniel Falele this season. And at the time, I was the number 2 person in the entire Ravens chat because, you know, it gives those little badges and shit. Like, I'm going to lose my mind.
I got 2 more names.
Sorry.
Worked out Kadeem Telfort, an offensive tackle.
Okay.
And wide receiver Quez Watkins. That's a name.
I know, right?
And, okay. So, yesterday, we made some roster moves because we're making a lot of rosters.
I see that. I'm excited about Tank's Bigsby, by the way.
We
Going over all my
signed
notes to make sure I didn't miss anything about this shit.
we signed running back Montrell Johnson, who of course played preseason for us, and O lineman Holland Pierce to the practice squad.
Oh, you brought up Pierce. That's fun.
We signed him in the practice squad.
Oh,
so
you brought him back to practice.
We brought him back. He's been on and off and on and off and on and off and on and off.
By the way, Azo, Linderbaum, and Stanley, outstanding. Voorhees saw a lot of great things. Rosengarten, I think, is a legitimate stud. But I think Daniel Falele is a huge issue. You can't be working on have 2 young guards you're trying to develop at the same time. That is not going to go well for you in a zone running scheme.
Oh, we signed Javon Baker to the practice.
Ooh, okay. Man, y'all signing a lot of guys with like high upsides.
Yo, our practice squad's actually pretty good.
I hate how much shit I've gotten over the years for critiquing John Harbaugh. And just, again, the same arguments are finally coming to light because Lamar Jackson had no way to be blamed for the loss for once. You know, and I just wish they would talk about these numbers more. Like, again, the special teams falling apart despite being a special teams coach. Just, lost Sponge. Works out anyway because I need to get going. Up there, Sponge again. I need to get going anyway, Sponge. I got to go to the food truck and get my girlfriend a Philly cheesesteak.
All right, am I back?
Yep, I can hear you. Oh, and he went again. Aza said, let me ask, if the problems aren't the playoff fault, which I agree with, and if you're saying they're Harbaugh not being relevant to the team, that can not be said about Harbaugh's situation. Well, that's the thing. The things that he is in charge of, he constantly fucks up. Why did we lose the games? Well, bad clock management. Why did we lose to Denver? Well, the one thing he is in charge of, the very thing he has an impact on is so easy to do, is why I say that. It's so easy that I think almost anyone could step in and fucking do it, basically. Like, and that's why I don't think it would change the team much, but it's the one thing we need the most, more than anything. Like last year, we chose a bunch of veteran linebackers that had no impact that were costly. We ended up losing to the Bills because Malik Harrison and Trent Simpson couldn't play because our inside linebackers were horrible other than Roquan. That's why we lost against the Bills last year in the playoffs. They literally called Malik Harrison's number at right inside linebacker, left on defense. And then they ran a 40-yard ball, 60-yard ball right at him and destroyed him with pulling a guard. And that's what killed me. You can go back and watch my live call of that Buffalo Bills game, and I'll be like, hey, they're calling 40. They're calling Malik Harrison's number right now. Let's see if they go at him. And they do. And Dalvin Cook down the right sideline. Like, I literally fucking remember it. Like, and that's what's infuriating to me. We chose to not develop inside linebackers. We chose a bunch of veteran guys that ended up leaving us at this offseason. Quite a few went to the Steelers, mind you. And that was one of the decisions he made with the roster that I absolutely hated. And I think Jake Hummel, case in point, let me give you another one. They brought, I can't even remember his name because he barely took like 2 kickoffs. They brought in last year a wide receiver, a veteran guy to do kickoffs, despite Tylan Wallace taking one back to the house against the Rams the year before. Dude got hurt, barely never played, wasted money, wasted a roster spot that could have gone to a younger player to develop. And what are they doing again this year? The same fucking thing. And who makes that decision on the 53-man roster? That's John Harbaugh. And I called out the Baltimore Riders. I said, this is a horrible signing. We don't need this signing. It's nothing. It wasted a roster spot, and it became exactly that. But does anybody come and acknowledge that? No. Do any of those Riders admit that they were wrong and that they did Tylan Wallace wrong? No. Mic drop. I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of the words. I'm sick of the complacency. I'm sick of the bullshit lying through the teeth. I'm sick of the lack of grit. I love my Ravens. I love Odyssey. I love EDC. I love Biscotti. I love Lamar. I love like all those fucking players. I'm sorry. I would let you back in, Sponge, but I'm about to get off. But I've always been a critic of Harbaugh. I've been a critic of him even after winning a Super Bowl. Because, again, the objective of the reality that we're watching and the numbers show it. And, again, I've said it since day one of my critique. It's damn easy to look like a good coach when you have Hall of Fame GMs and front office staff and owners drafting and having already on roster Hall of Fame players. It makes it easy. Take Lamar Jackson away from this Ravens offense and put in, again, like we saw, the backups or any other just mediocre 20th of the range quarterback in the NFL, 15th percentile even. And this Ravens team would be worse than the Steelers, barely making the playoffs, and it just wouldn't work. Lamar Jackson has saved so many games himself. But again, there is no current solution. The Ravens just have to suck it up. I pray and hope that they fix the issues because, damn well they're not going to ever hire me to fix the issues. So I hope somebody listening, because I've joked the more I started calling John Harbaugh out for his bad clock management and timeout on Twitter and in my streams live, we actually saw him start using timeouts. So maybe he is learning. Maybe he is changing. And I God hope so. Because we need to. And there needs to be a message sent through the locker room. John Harbaugh can try to deliver it. I'm not going to say he can't. I'm not going to say he lacks the ability to. And I hope he does. I hope everything I say gets proven wrong. I hope they change. I hope they clutch it up and they go on a playoff run and just absolutely demolish everybody and make me look stupid and silly. That would be the utmost dream for me. And I'd sit here and be like, well, I guess I was wrong, guys. I'll be man enough to sit up here and say it. But the problem is that the other people on the other side haven't manned up and said their part and followed through. And that's not just my words again. Baltimore Ravens writers, not Ravens.com, but Baltimore writers. That's NFL analysts talking today on national TV, echoing the same things I've said for years. But all right, gotta go. Love y'all. I appreciate anyone that dropped in. Sponge, sorry. It was just supposed to be a short rant stream anyway. Came in on the back end of it. I wish everyone the best. I wish Baltimore luck in week 2. This team's got all the talent. We just got to get it done. It's as simple as that. Y'all will see me, of course, on Sunday. And everyone, hope y'all have a good night. I'm about to go replay some Red Dead Redemption, I think, to after the food truck, that is, to let out the stress. Maybe I'll chill in Discord, Sponge, while I play some Red Dead. Might not be a bad idea. Azo, if you want to drop by as well, I'm pretty sure you're in the Raven Haven Discord as well. Eventually, we will put the Discord public for all the Ravens flock and my channel members, but I suck. It's just simple as that. I suck. Later, guys. Darwin out.